This a kid at age 17 was weighing all his food.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, won't you just eat like I did back then? He was very particular about what he put in his body, which is good. Hey, is
D Mace, Vin, Ginadonic, 1025, 1063 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Bingen, David Janes here as well. It is a dreary day in our fair city. It's not going to stop raining for days, as I understand it. But stay warm, stay dry, hang out with us. Tim Hasselbeck will join us at 11:30, ESPN NFL analyst. Tim Thompson, Vanderbilt basketball analyst, will join us at 1 o'clock. Vanderbilt hosts the number one team in the country, the Auburn Tigers, tonight at Memorial Gym, a game you can hear right here on 1025, 1063 The Game, with a 6 o'clock tip-off and a 5:30 pre-game show. But before we get started, Willie, you look a little parched, my friend. You look a little thirsty. I've got something for you.
Oh, yeah? A nice green
I've
Gatorade.
got a nice
yellow
lemon lime
Gatorade.
Gatorade for you, my friend.
And it's nice and cold, Willie.
Yeah,
There you go.
I stopped just for you on the way in
Isn't that nice?
to
It's
grab
yellow.
you a yellow Gatorade.
That is yellow, Willie. That is yellow.
That is yellow. Looks pretty
That
yellow
is
to me.
Yeah, it does.
Yellow.
He knows it
That
looks
is
yellow.
so green.
No,
That looks a
yellow.
little yellow to me.
Yellow, really, Willie. It's yellow.
No, this is
That's
green.
green. Yes,
That's
that's
a lot
yellow.
closer to that
No,
than yellow.
I guarantee you put some
That's
yellow.
green.
Yeah,
That's green.
no, it's yellow.
I'm putting that out in front of the camera. If you're watching on YouTube,
Mm.
that is green Gatorade. Lime is in the title.
So is
Lime
lemon,
is green.
which is yellow.
Which is first though?
I also noticed you have a 7-Up for a counter.
Yeah.
That is a lemon lime beverage as well.
Okay,
Yes.
what word
And what,
is no,
what can
Willie,
do they use?
Willie,
what color
Willie,
can do
Willie.
they use for lemon lime?
But what is the word? What
Lemon
color?
lime.
No, what color are the words? Yellow.
Yeah, but the can
Yellow.
is green.
No,
The can's green.
it's yellow to stand out.
I'm not arguing that there's not yellow in there.
Is
I'm
there-
saying that
Is there
green
green in there?
is a very yes, it's lime.
No. Read the DNA. Read the DNA. Yeah, read the DNA. You tell me. Anything that says green.
Right. I know.
Yeah, I know. No DNA. No.
It says yellow 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
All right.
Case closed.
It's got lime in there.
Case closed. That's it, Willie.
That was
I was prepared to move on. You guys brought the green
Yeah.
Gatorade out here.
I'm committed to the bet. I'm committed to the bet.
You are. And I will gladly drink this green Gatorade. It's my favorite.
Well, if it's green, you have to give
my
it
favorite
back
kind.
because
It's
I got
original.
you a yellow Gatorade.
You sound like
the
the
original.
hamburger. You sound like the hamburger. I mean, what's the man? Not the hamburger on Popeye. What
Oh
was his
yeah,
name?
Wimpy.
Wimpy. Yes.
Yeah.
I would gladly pay you tomorrow for a hamburger today.
That's right.
I hope Willie enjoys his yellow Gatorade
That is so
Yeah,
nice.
throughout.
You
the
guys
program.
deep down, you know that that's not
No.
yellow.
Mm-mm.
That is green.
Deep down, I know that it's Gatorade, and they say it's yellow.
Speaking of
I
green,
just want you to look at here's the picture of
okay, hold on.
a Lakers jersey. Now that's yellow.
No,
I'm
it's
just gonna
more
put this
gold.
next. If the Lakers came out with jerseys this
That's more.
color,
That's more gold.
there's LeBron on our TV screen right now. Now, if the Lakers came out with jerseys that were exactly this color, what would people say? What the heck are the Lakers doing? They're wearing green jerseys. That's what they would
I
be
would
saying.
say
That's
they're
what
wearing
they
yellow
say.
jerseys.
Why are they wearing highlighter yellow
Exactly.
jerseys? That's
Exactly.
what I would say.
That's not what they would say.
That's exactly what they
They
would
would
say.
say they're wearing green jerseys.
Hey, listen, I'm with Adam. I would say, why are they wearing these high yellow fluorescent colors? You see what
Why
I
are they
said,
wearing
yellow.
Gatorade colors right now?
Yeah, yellow. So there you go. Or 7-Up colors.
But
But anyway,
speaking of green,
yes.
and specifically gang green, reports surfaced over the weekend that the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers, their marriage appears to be ending after 2 disappointing seasons. According to ESPN, Rodgers flew to New Jersey last week to meet with new coach Aaron Glenn and new GM Darren, is it Moogie? Darren Moogie. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. A source confirmed to ESPN. Fox Sports reported Sunday that Rodgers was informed at that meeting that the team has decided to part ways with him. So Aaron Rodgers, we've talked about Aaron Rodgers as a possibility to be the Titans quarterback next season. He is expected to be released by the Jets, so you can throw him into the pile of the quarterback possibilities for the Tennessee Titans next season. And every analysis I've read about this move and heard, the Tennessee Titans have been mentioned. David, if you have the Dan Orlovsky clip as he works on that, it just feels like the Titans are a team that people think could be a fit for Aaron Rodgers. But I've read some interesting things about why it didn't work in New York. There was, of course, the injury in his Jets debut. He made it 4 or 5 plays. His season was over. Last season, he did put up some impressive numbers, but the team didn't win. And here's the first thing that I saw. This was in an article from Yahoo Sports. We'll get to that clip in just a minute. But this was from Jory Epstein, a senior reporter at Yahoo Sports. I thought this was interesting. Quote, another high-ranking AFC executive told me he expects Rodgers to play, but not for the Jets. And this story was written before the news broke. The executive's reasoning: if he were building a team, his primary goal for a new regime would be installing and building upon a system that will support sustained success. The exec would want to build and teach players an offense that best caters to their long-term quarterback success, rather than run a Rodgers-tailored offense in year one that then require players to recalibrate their expectations for a makeover in year 2. What do you think about that?
I think it's spot on. I think they're seeing, because and maybe this is a reason why Tennessee may not go that direction, or maybe they do, because he's only coming back for a year. If indeed you bring him back, it's not going to be for the next 4 or 5 years. So you bring him back for a year, you tailor everything, you got to get players that sort of mesh with him and the offense. So you're tailoring it around his skill set. But then he's going to leave the next year. And like you said, then you have to sort of retool again, because the guys that you brought in, were more so, not that he wanted them, but were more so suited for him and what we were doing and our capabilities. So I don't blame the Jets for doing what they did. Now, the next team, are they going to be sort of in that same mode that the Jets were in? Like, why start something and we know, it's going to end very quickly? Not because necessarily, it's just what's going to happen. because we expect to have our quarterback pretty soon, our future quarterback. So it wouldn't be no more than a year or two.
Willie, before you respond, here's Dan Orlovsky talking about Aaron Rodgers, potential fits, and why the Titans could make sense.
Is Aaron Rodgers willing to learn and run a new and different offense? That is question number one for any team that thinks he's good enough still to play. And I can name out teams that are probably worthy of calling: Tennessee, Cleveland, Vegas. But unless Aaron is willing to run an offense that he hasn't run in maybe ever, 15, 20 years, it's not going to matter. Chip Kelly's not going to run an offense that he wants to run. Tennessee, maybe, but that's a stretch. In Cleveland, not happening. So I think that's the biggest question that any team that's interested in him is you got to sit down and have the conversation with him of schematically, because we're not running what you want, right? You're going to run our scheme, and we'll make it around you for sure, but we're not changing everything for you.
That was Dan Orlovsky on Aaron Rodgers and what potential new teams could be looking for from him. What do you think about that, Willie?
I think when we discussed this in the past and we watched what the Jets did, they stopped everything to bring in his play caller, his favorite wide receivers, his everything. You have to cater. He's got a lot of stuff that comes with him, baggage, and you hope that it's good baggage to get the most out of your investment. But if you're only making a 1-year investment, which is basically what you would probably be doing, I can see from a fantasy perspective in a vacuum, take what value Aaron Rodgers has left, drop him in, and you say, is he way better than the quarterback play you got last year? No question about it. But that Orlovsky makes, I think, the key point. Are you then going to bring in Allen Lazard and then try to go get Devontae Adams? Are you changing your offense? How close is that to the Brian Callahan offense? These are important questions for sure. But the overriding thing for me is why would Aaron Rodgers want to come here for 1 year? If you're going to play if you're going year to year, don't you want to try to shop around and say, let me go to a team that I think is on the verge of winning? I would look at the Titans roster if I'm Aaron Rodgers and say, can I win with that team?
Maybe it's the challenge at this point in his career. Maybe he needs the challenge or he wants the challenge.
But when you look at potential fits for Aaron Rodgers, I hear what you're saying, Willie. And this is something that we hear a lot when, Myles Garrett wants out. Cooper Kupp is being traded. Sam Darnold's available in free agency. Well, why would they want to come here? Why would they want to come play for the crappy Titans? Well, in Aaron Rodgers' case, think about the quarterback needy teams. How much closer are those teams than the Titans, right? The Browns are not close to winning a Super Bowl. He's not obviously going back to the Jets. They're cutting him. The Raiders are not close to winning. Who are some other teams that are in desperate need of a quarterback? The Giants, they're not winning. So I hear what you're saying, Willie. Why would Aaron Rodgers want, what can the Titans sell him on? That's a good question. But there isn't a team like the Vikings were maybe last season. Like nobody expected the Vikings, right, to be as good as they were this year. But you could look at their roster, their coach, and say, hey, with the right quarterback, they could be pretty good. Unless I'm missing something, there isn't that team this season.
Now, the Vikings could be interesting because the Vikings could choose not to sign Sam Darnold. Look at the J.J. McCarthy situation and say he's just not ready. But we can bring Aaron Rodgers in here for a year.
Just like Brett Favre?
Exactly. And we got the pieces on offense.
Didn't Favre go from the Packers he went from the Packers to the Vikings to the Jets?
He ended with the Jets last.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So, but they both made a pit, he made a pit stop in Minnesota.
Exactly. And both of them would essentially, in this theory, would make a pit stop in Minnesota.
That would be pretty funny.
Yeah, but you look at a situation like that where we don't want to pay Darnold $40 million, but we pay potentially Aaron Rodgers a 2-year deal, which is essentially what, Willie?
A 1-year deal.
A 1-year deal.
By the way, Brett Favre went to the Jets first.
Yeah,
and then
Jets and then Minnesota. So to end up sort of kind of the same. But
different routes to the same.
Yeah, basically. But I mean, it gives you an opportunity to possibly negotiate something with a lower cap with Aaron Rodgers, but surround him with a team that's ready to win now. The Titans situation, again, I don't think Brett Favre, because people keep when I talk about Brett Favre and kind of get him, do we want it? Can he adapt to this offense and can he not? It's not bringing his guys over. It's just him as a quarterback adapting to the system. Brett Favre is not in a space of power anymore. He can't say, I want that guy. No, he's not. People are going to look at him like he's crazy. Like, dude, no. You just spent 2 years, in New York. It didn't work. And they did no, we're not doing that. If you want to come here, we'll try to get maybe another receiver, but it may not be the receiver you want, but it's a receiver that we feel can help the offense. That's where Aaron Rodgers is at now. If he can agree to that, if I'm the Titans, Brian Callahan has to save his job this year. Why wouldn't you do it? Because you're in a preserve.
It'd be a roll of the dice, but any quarterback that they're going to bring in is a roll of the dice. So I would put him along. It's just like we did the exercise.
But
we listed 6 quarterbacks. I think was Rodgers one of the 6 at the time?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we had a really, you kind of swayed me a little bit on how it could work. It's like, what do you really have to lose if you're taking a flyer on a quarterback for this year? He is not a future answer, but if he is nothing, if he's a placeholder and you're saying, let's see if we can make it work. He is a wild card. Maybe he's got one more year in the tank. I think when the Vikings picked up Brett Favre at age 40, and he had a kind of a so-so 1 year with the Jets. I think that I just looked it up. The Jets were 9-7. Did the Vikings think that they could get to the NFC Championship
one play
game?
away
Yeah,
from the Super Bowl.
Well, it was a screw up by Favre
exactly.
that kept them from the Super Bowl. But
I remember it fondly.
33
As a Saints
touchdown
fan.
passes and 7 interceptions.
Yeah.
Like he had a great year at age 40 for the Vikings. It's not if there's a buy-in from Aaron Rodgers, it may be a 1-year deal, 2-year deal that could be a 1-year deal, and you look at the rest of the roster, you trade that first round pick or that first overall pick, see how many picks you can get, fill other holes. But let's also remember what Aaron Rodgers was this past year. On the surface, the numbers don't look that bad. Remember, I think he threw 4 touchdown passes in the last game, which kind of buoyed the stats. But his QBR was 48.1, which was 31st in the league.
He started
Will
off
Levis,
slow.
42nd, by
He
the way.
started off slow, completely slow.
He had some bad games. He did not have a great year.
Sounds like an improvement to me over Will Levis.
It is an improvement from Will Levis.
Aaron Rodgers got better as the season went on. I think that those first 6-7 games, there was no consistency whatsoever.
I think that would be an interesting thing to look at is, okay, the rustiness in the first part of the year coming off the Achilles, and he was banged up for a portion of the year as well. And of course, the team was out of it when he maybe started having better stats. So what does that mean? It's just like when you're trying to decipher Kirk Cousins when he says, hey, it was my arm. My arm was hurting. My arm will be better next year. Roll the dice with me. I can still get it done. Like everybody can think that, right? You can still do it for one more year. Tom Brady did it till he was 45 and still found ways to be effective. But some guys, the clock does run out and you just can't do it anymore.
Let's just take a second to discuss the damage financially that Aaron Rodgers is leaving behind.
Right. And this
Jets.
is why it's important that if you're the Titans, that you don't get yourself into this kind of thing.
The future Hall of Famer, according to ESPN, the future Hall of Famer has 1 year remaining on his contract, a non-guaranteed $37.5 million. He was due to count $23.5 million on the cap. The Jets will be left with $49 million in dead money, which can be spread over 2 years if he's designated a post-June 1st cut. In that case, they would have to carry his $23.5 million on the cap until June 1st. At that point, he'd count $14 million in 2025, a net savings of $9.5 million. However, in the June 1st scenario, there would be a $35 million charge in 2026. If he opts for retirement, the same accounting applies.
So that's a pretty big paycheck that the Jets are going to have to cover over the next 2 years.
And they traded a trove of draft picks,
including a first rounder, I think, right?
Yes, I believe that is correct, for how many wins from Aaron Rodgers? 5? Because
5 plus if you count the game that he got hurt the first year, where
Which
he
I
lasted
don't.
4
Yeah.
plays, he was officially the winning starter.
yes.
They won the game.
Zach Wilson.
Remember, they rallied and won
Yes.
the game.
Against
Josh Allen threw
Buffalo.
like 5
Yes.
interceptions in the game.
Right.
And
So
and
5 wins
yeah.
in 2 seasons where he
Wow.
was the starting quarterback for multiple draft picks.
so
and
that would be the
dead
6th
money.
win, but still
Yes. But yikes.
not great.
No, it's not great.
Also, remember what the Jets did, and they still now they have to get out of the. I don't know what they paid Devontae Adams. They doubled down to get him. There's a lot of talk that he won't be back, but Rodgers, I almost said Favre.
Uh-huh.
Rodgers had 28 touchdown passes and 11 interceptions, but he has Breece Hall as his tailback. He had Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams for a lot of the season. He had some other guys, he had his other guys in there, Lazard and those guys. It's not like he didn't have people to throw to. They had a kind of a shoddy offensive line.
Mhm.
But I think it's pretty safe to say he had more talented weapons around him that he would have here next year, likely.
Yeah, more than likely.
So you got to factor these things in.
I just think just like I saw with Harold Landry, just like I saw with Taylor Lewan, other players that come off of Achilles or knee injuries the next following year, they tend to slow off. They start off slow, and it is expected. But what happened in all 3 of them, I think Harold Landry started to play a lot better middle of the season on last year. I thought that year Taylor Lewan started playing better once he got his feet up underneath him. So that, even though it wasn't a good season for the Jets, I still believe Favre showed that he can quarterback a team to victories. They didn't have many in New York, but I think he still proved toward the end he can quarterback victories for an NFL team.
615-737-1025. Your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers as an option to play quarterback for the Tennessee Titans next season. Call us, text us, 615-737-1025. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Coming up next, we'll bring Tim Hasselbeck into this conversation, ESPN NFL analyst. We will discuss Aaron Rodgers, I was about to say the NHL draft, the NFL draft, and more coming up next. But before we do, tune into 102.5, 106.3 The Game tonight for Vanderbilt men's basketball as the Commodores host the #1 Auburn Tigers at Memorial Gym with a 6 o'clock tip-off, and the pregame show starts at 5:30. Vanderbilt men's basketball presented by Athletes Unlimited Pro Basketball, coming to Nashville's Municipal Auditorium now through March 2nd. Go to auprobasketball.com for more details and to purchase tickets.
All right, let's talk some Loan Pronto. If you own a home, you can get cash money out of your home's equity in less than a week with the engine provided from Loan Pronto. They've got great AI technology. They've got leadership skills in quickly converting home equity into cold hard cash. And they've got great options to let you do this and do it smoothly. No paperwork, no cumbersome process, no junk fees, often no appraisal. The average homeowner gets great service here. And the average homeowner has over $300,000 in equity available to them if you need it. That's your money. So one client recently got $150,000 out, paid off their credit cards, 2 car loans, and a personal loan, and they cut their monthly expenses during the process by $1,500. That's pretty good stuff. So get approved in as little as 1 day with no hard credit pull up front. 615-499-5780 is the phone number. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Get the money you need. Loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan joined on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, by ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck. Tim, we saw you on ESPN in our studio yesterday. You got a lot of airtime yesterday, my friend.
I mean, Sunday night in D.C. and then land back in Nashville, just, home studio. Appreciate you guys tuning in, man. That's, and ratings bonanza.
I like the setup. You had the Ensworth helmet, the Berlin Thunder helmet. Shout out NFL Europe.
He's basically saying this is what I do, man.
The Ensworth game ball.
He said, I got my studio set up in my 13,000 square foot home, on the other wing,
Hey,
he got 12, he got 8,000 dedicated to just his studio.
I'm happy that you're aware of what's on the shelf there. That's right. You got the Ensworth helmet.
Yes.
Got on there. Got the I think the ball in there is like first playoff win as a head coach, 28-0. Like that's sitting up there. Like, just glad you're noticing what's on the shelf.
I'm just an NFL Europe stan. I think they should bring it back. I miss NFL Europe.
They shouldn't have took it away.
Hey, listen, World Bowl 10 champs, baby.
There you go. Hey,
I know.
Did they give you a
knew,
ring?
but...
No, I'm seriously, I'm asking.
Yes, you get a ring.
Okay,
Listen,
here's the other question. Do you wear the ring?
Cubic zirconium looks just like the real thing. Okay? It's what, like,
Hold on. Did y'all think it was diamonds when y'all first got it?
No, because our game checks were like $800, so I knew for sure that it wasn't the real thing.
Oh man,
Tim, before you came on, we were talking about Aaron Rodgers. The news over the weekend that he and the Jets are expected to part ways. Of course, the Titans have been mentioned in the mix for a landing spot for Aaron Rodgers. When you look at the Titans from a football's perspective, from a schematic fit, from a leadership fit, all of those things, what do you make of Aaron Rodgers and the Titans? Do you think that could work?
Well, I was on yesterday and got asked about it, and I said, look, if you look at just around the league at the best landing spot for him, I think is the Titans. Look, it's an offense that he has familiarity with. So like verbiage and all that stuff and success in the offense, like there's going to be so much carryover. And then when you think about where the Titans currently sit at the position, there's a need. And you think about where the Titans sit in terms of, where they're drafting, and does that mean they're for sure taking a quarterback? Like they're maybe not, right? Unless there's movement. So, I think when you look at all of that stuff and you say, okay, like find the landing spot for Aaron Rodgers, and it doesn't mean just because like it's the most logical landing spot for him that it's the best thing for the team, but like find me the other match, right? I would ask you guys as well, like where is there a better match for Aaron Rodgers than Tennessee?
Yeah, that's how I kind of started. I was thinking, why would you want to come to Tennessee? But then Adam sort of countered and said, well, where's the other obvious fit? I guess there really isn't one.
Cleveland? I don't think so. The Giants? I don't think so.
But he's not,
right?
Tim, and maybe you agree with this or not. I don't think he's because people are saying, well, if he comes here, then you got to bring all the Aaron Rodgers sort of the experience and what he wants. But I look at it, he's not in a position of power anymore.
And it won't cost you as much as it costs the
you.
Jets.
Yeah, exactly. So why wouldn't you, in a sense, even at least kick the tires on it?
Yeah, and I think that, look, I also think it's like after the dust settles type of thing, okay? What happens with Sam Darnold? Where does he go? And look, Darnold's market, like I think is going to be interesting as well. Like the Jets are a needy team. Well, Darnold can't go back there. Like that's off the list. So like there are just certain places that the guy who I think would be the most sought after free agent, Sam Darnold, like he just can't go. And then I think then you look into the trade market and you say, and I brought this up with you guys in the past, like what happens with J.J. McCarthy? Like, is he available because of whatever Minnesota decides to do? Or how about another one? What about Hendon Hooker? Is he available? Like, would Aaron Glenn like him at the Jets? So, I think there's some of that going on, and all of that, with what those teams do, what the Raiders do, what a bunch of these teams do, like that's going to impact, where it all falls for the Titans. So, if you just look at the Titans, so like, okay, what's the quarterback market for the Titans? Like if we're saying the best fit for Aaron Rodgers is Tennessee, okay, what's the best fit for Kirk Cousins if he gets released? Like, what's going on in Pittsburgh? I just, you start to, there's going to be a shuffling. There are only so many spots available. And, I think you could at least make the argument for the Titans to say, all right, look, underperformed this year, very winnable division. Look, I'm not trying to put everybody on the hot seat, but like, what's your best path to success if you're a coach that's like, hey, we need to win a lot more than we won this last year? Well, you get a quarterback that's had success in the NFL.
But Tim, what about the fit? You mentioned intriguing one to me is Pittsburgh, right? Pittsburgh kind of rolled the dice, looked for the two bounce backs, paid very little money, and got decent production.
Yep.
I don't know if one or both will be back, but if Rodgers is in play, if I'm Rodgers, I'm looking at the Pittsburgh program and saying, okay, well, there's a program that's won some games. Could I elevate them? But what about something you mentioned before is if he looks at the Titans, what is the marriage between the Callahan offensive philosophy, language, all of that compared to what Rodgers is used to? Is that, you said you came to think it's somewhat related?
Yeah, I mean, if you just think about Brian Callahan and his father Bill, like that is West Coast offense-based terminology. So, Bill Callahan was doing, with Rich Gannon at the Raiders, what, John Gruden was, and what, was originally started, from San Francisco to Green Bay. And like the path that has taken to, Washington with Shanahan and then Gruden and McVay and LaFleur and quite honestly, the stuff that Mike McCarthy was doing. I mean, it's really for the most part what Aaron Rodgers has been a part of his entire career.
Okay. So it's a cousin,
like,
at least. It's at least a cousin.
Like, would it be the exact same? No. But like, and D Mace knows this, like 200 jet, Lion Dragon is going to mean the same exact thing. Like, and 2 jet explant spacing is going to mean the exact same thing. And whatever, 72 X shallow cross is going to mean the exact same thing. Like, that's just how it works. And so, look, not to say that Aaron can't go learn something new, but as 40-something-year-old quarterback learning a new system is not ideal. The cousin, remark, like, yeah. So it's like you're basically learning something you already know.
You're right, because when I went from the Jets to Houston. Houston ran the same offense that I ran here in Nashville with Mike Heimerdinger, but there were some changes in the wording. But if you're talking about the sort of the foundation of it, it's basically what I ran in Nashville here. So it was a little bit easier for me to learn it and retain it as opposed to trying to learn a whole new offense. And I think, that may be one of the things that Aaron Rodgers looks at. Do I want to learn a whole new offense, or do I want to learn an offense that may have some variations of what I did in the past?
Yeah, and if you're Aaron, like you go in and maybe you have to learn a little bit of terminology, but like you have so much time on task already having run those plays, reading them like how you know how to do it. Like that's important. Like I think that's, and not to say that guys haven't gone other places and had success in new offenses. Like it's definitely happened. But I think Matthew Stafford in some ways, not in some ways, I mean, moved to, a new offense when he went to the Rams, and it was a good thing, and he had success with it.
Tim, here's a question for you. We're talking with Tim Hasselbeck, ESPN NFL analyst and head coach of the Ainsworth Tigers. Here's a question for you in regards to Aaron Rodgers and, what he may do, or what the Titans may do in that regard. Do you, as a new GM, do you try to do try to get a guy that best fits the head coach, or do you get a guy that you feel best fits the organization? You see what I mean? Because Brian Callahan is in a position he has to win this year somehow, some way.
Right.
So he may choose to say, I want Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers gives me the best opportunity to win on the field. And the organization may look at it and say, nah, we don't want to go with Aaron Rodgers. Anyway, go with that. So what do you think would be best in a situation like this?
Yeah, I think that's why, alignment at the top is so critical. Like, what are the motivations? What are you trying to do? Like, okay, winning 9 games, with a bridge quarterback, like, what does that do for your team, your organization? Like, does it stunt the growth of other players? Does it, like, what is it? Like, that's what I think is always the catch. And look, I think in fairness to Brian Callahan, look, I don't know that you had another option other than Will Levis this season. Mm-hmm. I don't know that there was another option. And so, when you look at it that way, like, is that fair to Brian Callahan when, like, look, the poor quarterback play cost them games? Like, that's fact. So, like, is that fair to him? And, like, I'm not saying that everything's got to be fair in life, but I don't know. And so I think coming off of that, if you're like, look, you need to win more games than you won last year. In fact, we expect to be flirting with double-digit wins, or at least a chance to compete in the division. Well, at that point, like, you better, this is the Bill Parcells, like, you want me to cook the dinner, like, you better let me, shop for the groceries, right? Like, well, if you want me to win, like, you got to let me choose my quarterback then. So, yeah, I think at that point, you probably have to, allow the coach or empower the coach to choose his quarterback.
Tim, one Super Bowl question for you before we let you go. Did you think it was possible that you could watch Patrick Mahomes struggle that much in that game? I didn't.
I didn't either, because I've seen them struggle at times and then bounce back. And, like, he looked like at one point my brother sent me a text and he's like, if this was Brock Purdy or, just somebody else,
right,
like, he would be getting just ripped right now for how he's struggling in the biggest game, right? Like, it would have been easy to be super critical of, look, he looks frazzled. Like, he looks like the game's moving too fast for him. And, and that just, Mahomes usually doesn't look that way. In fact, like, he's kind of redefined things you're allowed to do at the position because of how incredible he's been. So, I think I'm shocked. I'm shocked Andy didn't ever think about this. They didn't get past the 50 before the third quarter.
It's unbelievable.
Like, that's insane. Yeah. And just not something that you really ever see from. Look, Andy, had success when he's had to play other quarterbacks. So now, one of the best quarterbacks ever, the best coaches ever, and I think they had more sacks than first downs. Through the first half.
Tim Hasselbeck, ESPN NFL analyst, joining us on the program as he does every Tuesday. Tim, great stuff. Hope to see you and your excellent office setup all over ESPN.
All right. Sounds good. See you guys.
Tim Hasselbeck joining us on the program. 615-737-1025. Your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers. A lot of good stuff there from Tim Hasselbeck. We will react to that coming up next. But before we do, Nashville's best deal this week is 312 Pizza Company in Germantown. 312 Pizza Company serves the best pizza in town, as well as Chicago-style eats like Chicago dogs, Italian beef sandwiches, and more. Head to theGameNashville.com/deals now to get half off a $30 gift card to 312 Pizza Company while supplies last.
Hey, this is Derek Mason. You heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff over at Cool Springs MD for some time. If you set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting a goal or a resolution to shed some extra pounds only to face disappointment. But at Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his staff understands the frustration of this cycle, and that's why they offer a different approach to weight loss. Their comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize a program specific to you and you only. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
D Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025, 1063, the game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. interesting stuff from Tim Hasselbeck on Aaron Rodgers. I heard something else interesting from Mina Kimes the other day on NFL Live. David, if we have that, we can play it. This was Mina Kimes on Aaron Rodgers and the Titans.
Tennessee is the one team, Dan, where I could see some meeting in the middle. Because Chip Kelly don't see it happening. Kevin Stefanski, after trying to run an offense that's tailored to his quarterback, he is not going in that direction again. He's going to run the Kevin Stefanski offense
ever again.
But Brian Callahan, coming from Cincinnati, that was an offense that was very tailored to what Joe Burrow likes to do, which is sit in the gun and pick defenses apart. There's some crossover there with Aaron Rodgers. The one concern I have is the offensive line.
Yep.
They would have to continue addressing that because of Rodgers being pressure sensitive at this point in his career. But that I keep going back to the Titans as the team that makes the most sense for him purely from a football perspective.
That was Mina Kimes on ESPN saying a lot of similar things to what Tim Hasselbeck was talking about.
That is a marriage there, I would say, of ideas of, okay, we can see the philosophy can be a fit. Here's the next step to me. If you're kicking the tires and you're saying, okay, let's take a look at all the options here. None of them look great. None of them are ideal. But this is an opportunity for a Hall of Fame quarterback. Can you squeeze out one more good year? Can it jumpstart the franchise a little bit? And there's nothing really better on the table. If you're Aaron Rodgers, could you sell him if you're the Titans saying, okay, Aaron, you want to win? You've been paid a ton of money. Would you take a team-friendly deal? Hey, this is a no-tax state. You have a residence in this state. Could we make this work where you're playing at a pretty decent discount? And if you give us that discount, well, then maybe we can find a way to get Davante Adams in here. There's a lot of maybe intriguing things if he's not trying to squeeze every dollar out of this. That would be the next level to me.
Yeah, if you can get him for a price that works within, your salary cap, however you choose to allocate money, then again, I think you have to at least make the call at least to see if you can facilitate that. And then again, listen, I understand the Davante Adams thing, but I'm not sure if I would go down the route of trying to get Davante Adams, because I think Davante still believes he's a top 3-4 receiver in this league, which means he's going to want, north of $25, million. You're already paying one guy $20+ million.
It's a DeAndre Hopkins all over again.
Exactly.
Because
so
he's aging.
Even though he would be
would
be an upgrade, I know
but
for what Hop was.
He's 33.
He's aging.
He's been injured.
Yes.
He hasn't been the same guy. Exactly. It just sounds so similar.
Exactly.
Right?
So I wouldn't allocate that money to a Davante Adams. But what I would do is let him know, hey, listen, we are getting a receiver in the draft and early on. Couple him with, Calvin Ridley. And if they choose to sign Nick Westbrook or Keenan back, which I think they should, and he can be there 3 of their 4. So I would let him know that that's what we're thinking. But as far as bringing in, Davante Adams or some other guy you may have played with, it's like, no, we're not going that route unless, we feel he's a perfect fit for what we want to do moving forward. So, but I think the Titans, I'm with Tim, I'm with Mia. I think the Titans would be, it seems like an ideal fit for Aaron Rodgers. But I understand that, I understand why some people would be sort of opposed to it. Not necessarily because it's play, but what does everybody say? The baggage he brings. I don't think he brings that much baggage.
It's an interesting point you bring up, because we did receive a text on our text line about what about the drama and high maintenance he brings. I saw this, and we'll talk more about, I'll read it. I'll let you all digest it.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll go to break and you can react. Diana Russini of The Athletic, buried in a in a notes column on The Athletic, had this to say why it's over for Rodgers and the Jets. The biggest non-Super Bowl development on Sunday was the news that the Aaron Rodgers era is over for the New York Jets. Here's the money paragraph. When the Jets had conversations with him about a potential return, I, meaning Rossini, was told that they set some boundaries. He'd have to attend all training camp practices, and he'd no longer be permitted to do his Pat McAfee show appearances. It wasn't nearly like his recruitment from 2 off seasons ago. More broadly, it makes clear new head coach Aaron Glenn and GM Darren Moogie, I'm sorry, to the Moogie family, are putting an emphasis on individual accountability. So according to Diana Rossini, the Jets said that he would have to attend all training camp practices, and he would no longer be permitted to do his Pat McAfee show appearances. We'll discuss this angle of it next. If you want to react, 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063. The Game. D. Mace, Vin Ginadonic, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Darnick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you, continuing our conversation about Aaron Rodgers. A reminder, Tim Thompson, Vanderbilt University men's basketball color analyst, will join us at the top of the next hour at 1 o'clock to preview the Commodores game against number 1 Auburn tonight at Memorial Gym, a game you can hear right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Back to Aaron Rodgers. We had one texter say about Aaron Rodgers, what about the drama and high maintenance he brings? According to Diana Rossini of The Athletic, when the Jets had conversations with Rodgers about a potential return, Rossini was told that they set some boundaries. He would have to attend all training camp practices, and he would no longer be permitted to do his Pat McAfee show appearances. It wasn't nearly like his recruitment from 2 seasons ago. Where did he end up going? Egypt, was it? When he skipped out of training camp practices last summer? I think it was Egypt. Nobody would tell anybody for a while. So I understand that some Titans fans have reservations about Aaron Rodgers because of the Aaron Rodgers experience, which you can catch every week on the Pat McAfee show. He says a lot of kooky stuff when he sits down with Pat McAfee. But I'm wondering if that all will be, that impact will be diminished by the fact that, one, Aaron Rodgers will no longer be in New York. So maybe everything he says won't get blown up to the nth degree as it did in New York if he were here. And to be honest with you, I would like the Titans to add an injection of personality. The one thing about this past season that was so hard to stomach was that not only were the Titans bad, they were pretty boring too. I always tell this story before I moved to Nashville, and it'll be 10 years, by the way, in March, which is just crazy to me. I grew up in Virginia, and I went to school in Washington, D.C., and I lived and worked in D.C. before I moved to Nashville. The Washington then Redskins were so much more entertaining when not only they were bad, but they were a train wreck, right? Like it just made it like it was almost better when they lost. I mean, I was there for Robert Griffin's rookie season, and that season got off to a fabulous start. The Redskins made the playoffs, and then RG3 blew up his knee in the playoff game against the Seahawks, and then everything went down the toilet. And it was more entertaining when they were bad than when they were good, at least when I was there. It might have changed now that they're good again and they actually have a quarterback. But the Titans not only were bad, they were boring. Like there wasn't that drama that, what Aaron Rodgers, just by being on the roster, injects that. Like he could say something really strange on the Pat McAfee show this week and it'll be worth talking about. So I understand people's reservations about that. I actually think the Titans, I wouldn't mind the Titans having a little bit of that after what we witnessed this past season.
I think you got to, again, if indeed this is what you want to do, because I think this is critical for Brian Callahan, because again, I got to know what are your expectations. I know you say we want to have a winning team, or we want to see progression, or we want to see development. I know that, but what is that? What does that look like? Because I need to know, because if I know what it looks like, now I can go out, like you said, Willie, and like you said, Adam, it's let me go shopping. If you're telling me this is what I got to do, then I need to go shopping for what I need to make sure that I can accomplish those goals. And if you don't see it that way, then okay. So if he chooses to say, kick the tires on Aaron Rodgers, I think you got to bring Aaron Rodgers in and basically say, listen, I'm not going to say you can't go on a Pat McAfee show. Can't. But you got to understand this is a young team, because at this point, you're going to have a bunch of new faces. You got to explain to them, this is a young team. And what you say as the leader goes far in our locker room. Just remember that. it goes far in our locker room. So you can either take, the New York Jet approach. If that's what you want to do, then you're not for us. Or you take the approach that we want. We're not saying you can't do it, but you got to understand what you say reverberate in the locker room. I said it right. Reverberates in the locker room.
You got it.
So, you got, I think if you explain that to him, because he doesn't sit in a space of power anymore. He's already heard it from the Jets. He'll be heard again from you. Now it's like, from here on out, this is what every team is going to be saying that you go visit. So where do you want to play? If you want to play here where you got an opportunity to help sort of restore your legacy, because it has taken a hit the last 2 years. If you want to help restore your legacy, this is a perfect place to do it. And then if you win, we may go to the next quarterback, but you go right down the street and go home.
The Pat McAfee thing would not bother me for the Titans. If anything, it would give you a little sizzle, maybe for a franchise that doesn't get a lot of attention otherwise. I would invite that. That's not a big deal, even though he might say something wacko. He might. We know that. But I would be much more into, look, we'll be flexible with you. You're a veteran. You know how to play this game. But we need a buy-in. And like you said, we're trying to create. We're a lost franchise right now, right? We're looking for a new identity, and we need you here for that. Like if you're buying in, that's going to help us build something here. We're trying to shock the world a little bit, right? I mean, you need a buy-in. If he's just like, whatever, man, I'll be in Egypt from these dates here, so don't have the OTAs. Like if he's going to do that, like, do we really want to try that?
Yeah, that's why you discuss it. Like, okay,
discuss it up front. Let's
tell
be honest.
I would be like this. Tell me places you have to be this offseason right now. Put it down, like right now. Tell me, and let's discuss this. I don't want to be in a position that the Jets were in when you decided you had already had a trip planned. You decided to leave, and the Jets didn't know. And now everybody's caught off guard. Tell me if you're going on a retreat this day for a weekend or week, let us know, because I can come out and say Aaron Rodgers on this date from this date will not be here. We've discussed it. We may have a voluntary camp, but we've already discussed this with Aaron. So when he misses that day, everybody we don't
knows,
want to, exactly.
Everybody's on the same page.
Everybody's on the same page.
It reminds me of at the beginning of every month, I've got the calendar whiteboard on my fridge, and I sit down with my wife. All right, where are you going to be? What plans do you have this month? When does Arlo not have school? I'm just imagining Brian Callahan saying, all right, on his little whiteboard. Okay, Aaron Rodgers, Egypt with a big line.
He's gone for a week.
A couple of weeks.
Well, good. We're not having camp that day anyway.
I think the important thing is you work the whiteboard, but there's the Barry Trotz thing that rings in my ears. Like, are you coming here to retire or are you coming here to win?
Yeah.
Like we know your situation, right? You're choosing to play. You don't have to play.
No.
If you don't want to play, then retire. That's fine. Then you can spend all the time you want in Egypt. But if you do want to play, let's try to do this right. We're trying to build something here.
When do you plan on using ayahuasca? Can you give us a schedule of when you plan on being
give us
under
the
the
dates.
influence?
But I think
where you might be, what hole you might be in, what hut you might be in when you're doing it.
I think Aaron Rodgers is going to find out if he doesn't sign like early, because all indications is the Jets are they're parting ways. So we know he'll be out there. What he's going to find out is the more he talked to teams, the more he's going to be hearing the same thing from just about every team. Some teams may, kind of give him a little wiggle room. Some teams may not. But I think the common theme will be with every team. And he's going to have to either say, accept it, or say, you know what? I don't want to play no more. I'm just going to retire. Or I just wait till a team is that needy where they got to sort of, cave into my demands. But other than that, I think he's going to find out there's going to be a common theme across every NFL team. And that's, listen, Aaron, we got to have, if we need you here on these dates, you got to be here, man. You have to be.
Mark from Nashville is on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Mark, my friend, thanks for calling. Please go ahead.
Yeah, how you doing, Adam? What's up, Willie D. Mays?
What's going on?
Yeah, how you doing? Hey, Willie not speaking to me. Is Willie there?
I'm here, Mark. I'm ready for you, man. Let's go.
Oh, okay, man. Yeah, I didn't know. Every time I say, what's up, Will, I never hear back from you.
Mark,
Hey,
before
I
you
don't-
answer
hey,
your
man,
before you ask your question, I have a question for you.
What's that?
What color is lemon lime Gatorade?
What color is lemon lime Gatorade? I'm not a Gatorade person, Adam. I'm more of a Powerade person.
Okay. All right. You
All
got
right.
you
I
But
like
got-
if you
Powerade
hear
a
a
little more than
flavor is
Gatorade.
lemon lime, where would that have you say on the color spectrum?
I don't know. That's a tough one to answer right there, Willie. I mean, I don't know, man.
The answer is yellow.
Would it be yellow? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you got me on that one. But hey, Adam,
please
before
go
I
ahead,
get-
Mark. Sorry.
Before I get started on
You led the
what I'm gonna
witness.
say. Yeah, before I get started on what I'm gonna say, you know, man, I was eating at Burger King the other day and listening to you, and you played that song that Chris sent. I hear you, Adam. You played that song that Chris, you know, the one that I hate.
Indeed, we did.
Man, I had me a nice Whopper and some onion rings. Adam, I had to get up and throw that in the garbage, man.
I'm sorry.
I couldn't take it anymore, man. I couldn't take it, man. I really couldn't.
Can't waste a good Whopper.
But,
I feel you, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought about it. I said, Adam's punishing me, man, but that's okay. About Aaron Rodgers. If I'm the Titans, Adam, I take all that away from him. I need his focus. I need his undivided
Yeah.
attention. We got a young team here. I need a guy that's going to come in here and work hard, focus, lead, be a leader of these young guys on this team to make this team better. Do Pat McAfee in the off season. You got plenty of time to talk to Pat McAfee. You don't need to talk to him during the regular season. I need you here every day. I don't need no trips to Egypt, Belgium. I don't need any of that. I need you to be here. Mandatory workouts. I mean, he may not accept that, but that's I would lay the law down on that, because Callahan, he has no room for anything that's going to go work against him. He's already, in my opinion, a lame duck coach. He's got to win. Now, I don't know how many wins it's going to take for him to keep his job, or if he has to get to the playoffs or anything like that. But what would be the backup if you didn't get an Aaron Rodgers? Would you turn to Justin Fields? I mean,
I think that
don't
would
really
be an
know if-
important thing for me, Mark, is I can't have Aaron Rodgers as my only option. Here's option A. I'm putting all my eggs in that basket. I would like to have Aaron Rodgers, ideally, as one of several options that I'd be willing to go with going into this offseason, and not predispose myself to say, I got to go get Aaron Rodgers, because you have to be willing to walk away if you don't like how it's going. You got to have other options.
yeah, that's true. And then too, Willie, what are you going to pay him?
Right.
Like D. May said, I think Devontae Adams will end up back in Green Bay or somewhere else, because he's going to command too much money. And you don't need to pay any more money on age and wide receivers like that. You need to build that through the draft, or get you a young guy or whatnot. Address that offensive line. They got so much stuff going on over there. I mean, they're not going to be able to get it all here at once. But, I mean, they got to start somewhere. But I don't know, man. I don't really know if I would really fool with Aaron Rodgers, because, you know, hey, he's already set the tone with the Jets. You know, they laid the law down, and what did he do? He didn't want to hear that. So I really don't think that's the kind of guy you need to represent your locker room and to represent your team going forward. Even though he's just a bridge guy, I really don't think I would go there with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, you got to do something, but I wouldn't. But hey, man, y'all have a good day. Hey, Willie, if you ever notice, I don't call you Peter Popoff no more, so give me credit, man.
I appreciate
Mark,
that.
one thing
Okay.
before you go. Next time you're about to go have a Whopper and onion rings, call David. Let him know so that I don't play that song while you're eating, okay?
Yeah, you know, Adam, I done got kicked out of the apartment.
Uh-oh,
store
hold
about
on, Mark.
that
Hold
song.
on. Listen for a moment.
Oh, no. Don't do this to do this to our
That
man
was
Mark.
David.
Poor Mark.
Y'all
Hey,
got
I love you,
Mark.
Yeah, I know. If you're gonna play that song, man, I'm gonna hang up. I gotta go, man. Y'all have a
All
good one.
right, Mark. Thanks for calling.
Hey, all
Check
right,
it
I'll
out.
see y'all later. See
Yep.
you, G-Mate, Willie, Adam.
Thanks for calling, Mark. But like,
All right, man.
we've got a couple other calls which we'll get to on the other side. But quickly before we do, I think the Like Mark said, he wants Aaron Rodgers' undivided attention. I wonder if a team is going to attempt to sell him on, hey, if you come play for us, we'll let you do the extracurriculars. We'll let you go on the Pat McAfee show. Like, I'm wondering if that becomes a selling point as part of negotiations.
I don't even think it would. I believe, and this is just me, I believe he wanted out of New York.
I'm with you on that.
I think that once he saw the new regime, he was like, let me get out of here. I don't, so anything they would have said, I think, short of just allowing him to, run the organization, I think he would have just been like, nah, I think it's better for me to go somewhere else. So I don't think it had much to do. That's just me. I don't think it had much to do with the Pat McAfee stuff. I think they said what they needed to say, and they gave him an opportunity to say, you know what? I think it's best for us just to sort of part ways.
615-737-1025. We've got a couple of calls. We'll get to those as soon as we get back. And your text as well. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Bingen, 1025-1063. The Game. D Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025, 1063 the game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Let's get to some calls on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Cam will go first. Cam, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Good morning, fellas.
Hello.
D Mace, I got a question for you. Do you think that you're smarter than Google? Yeah. Hey, it's a fair question. Do you think you're smarter than Google?
That sounds like a trick question, D Mace. As your
Dude,
attorney,
Is this a game
Jackie
show?
Childs,
Like,
I'm
are
telling
you
to
smarter than
beware.
a fifth grader?
Be careful how you answer.
Do I?
When you Google the color of lemon lime
Uh-huh.
Gatorade, it literally says lemon lime Gatorade is yellow with a hint of green or yellowish green.
Well, if it's a hint,
Don't Google
yellow
it.
is the primary color with a hint of
Listen,
green.
Do you
Right.
believe what Gatorade says?
But is there green in it?
Yes.
I'm not disputing that there might be green in it, but yellow is the primary color.
Exactly.
Hey,
No, but
Exactly.
it says or yellowish green.
Does it
number
say,
one.
which means yellow is the dominant color, which is the reason they call it yellow.
D-Mace,
If they wanted to call it
D-Mace,
green,
listen
they
here.
would have said greenish yellow. Right or wrong?
Okay, I'm just
It's
saying.
wordy.
If you're smarter than Google, just shout it out
I
loud on the
really
radio.
appreciate this call, Cam. I can't thank you
But
enough for
also-
How
calling in.
How much did Willie
No,
pay
hold
you?
on.
How much did Willie pay
I got
you,
a
Cam?
question- I got a question for D-Mace.
Okay.
So I've heard Stillman say, and don't get me wrong, I love Stillman. I love the show. I've heard him say, okay, if the Titans don't want to take one of these quarterbacks at 1 or 2, then why would another team jump up to get one of these quarterbacks in a trade? But could one of these other GMs or one of these other coaches or whatever also look at the Titans' resume and go, well, they just don't know what they're doing? And they have a history of not knowing what they're doing. And so can you honestly say that they won't jump up because the Titans won't jump up? Thank you.
I appreciate
Thanks,
the call, Cam. And again, Cam, yellowish green. Now, how much Willie
But the
will be
word
sending
green
that
is in
check
it.
to you
The word's green.
once he gets
is
or
it?
that Venmo.
You got your points.
Regardless of color,
Exactly.
Willie inhaled that thing.
Absolutely.
So-
It's gone. Oh wow.
Oh, it's my favorite kind. I told you.
Yellow.
Yeah, it's his favorite yellow
Absolutely.
Gatorade.
Exactly.
Favorite.
There we go. Listen, for one, what Jared says isn't gospel. Okay, it's not like
That's
it's
blasphemous.
like,
How
bam,
dare you say
what
that?
Jared says is going to go. So if Jared
How dare you
says
say that?
the Titans don't feel one of these quarterbacks are worthy of the number 1 pick, what makes you think other teams are going to feel that these quarterbacks deserve the number 1 pick? But what does it take, Willie?
One team.
That's all.
One team.
It takes one team and one team only. That's why the Tennessee Titans will never indicate that they're out of the quarterback sweepstakes. They will never do that. Not until they know if they want to move out of that spot. Not until they know they have a deal in place. Cam and Shedeur Sanders and maybe even a third quarterback is going to start popping up, and it's going to be heavy. Why? Because they understand how important that number 1 pick is. So again, one, what Jared says isn't gospel. He says some good things, but what he says isn't gospel. And 2, it only takes one team. One team. And Cam, you may be right. That team may be looking at it as, well, if the Titans aren't high on the quarterback, what do they know? Look at what they've done, their organization, the last few years. They hadn't been able to draft well, so we're going to draft.
But
one
think
these
of the
quarterbacks.
Giants, for example. The Giants, Brian Dable is coming back. Joe Shane is coming back, the GM and the coach. Their owner, John Mara, was up front after that decision was made. He's like, my patience is being tested here. So maybe the Giants decide, look, we need to get the quarterback of the future in here. We need to show our boss that we know what we're doing, and we can find the quarterback that can set this organization back on track after we made the terrible decision in hindsight to move on from Saquon Barkley. Maybe that desperation, maybe the Giants are keen on Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders.
Sure, it takes one team.
It only takes one. It may or may not be the Giants, but I think the mindset is everybody's team's needs are different.
Mhm.
Everybody's going to have a different view of the top quarterbacks. Some will like them more than others.
Mhm.
And it's not just 5 experts go on and say, this isn't a good year to have the first pick, and have everybody say, well, they can't trade the first pick, because everybody's going to feel differently and have different needs for their particular team. So I'm not saying that it's impossible that what Jared is saying might be true, right? You might get to a few days before the draft and say, I'm kind of underwhelmed with the offers we're getting here. That could happen, but I still think the mindset is to explore and hope that the one team does emerge and say they want in. They want their guy at number 1, and here's what they're willing to give us.
It may not even be a quarterback.
Correct. It could be for Travis Hunter.
Exactly. It could be for Travis Hunter. It could be for Abdul Carter. Just because you may not think, or 5 other people may not think that Shedeur or Cam is worthy of the number 1 pick, that 11th person or that 6th person may think, yes, he is. And I'm going to I'm going to move up as far as I possibly can to try to get one of those quarterbacks. So again, yeah, you may not do it, but as we've seen across the league year in and year out, that doesn't mean another team will not do it.
Here's a historical question I don't know the answer to. Has anybody ever traded up to number 1 to draft a non-quarterback?
You know what? That's a question we should explore at some point. Maybe I'll do that research later. I think that's an interesting question. In the meantime, Chad is in Hendersonville on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Chad, thank you for waiting. Thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hey, guy, if I called Jared and told him that his word wasn't gospel, his voice goes extremely high, and he goes into full-on argument mode. And
this is what he'll say.
Then he thanks for your call.
No, this is my show. This is my show. You don't interrupt me.
He thanks for your call after your first sentence is complete. Now, thank you for your call.
That's right. Thank you for your call. Thank you for.
We'll listen to you, Chad. We'll listen to you. Please go ahead.
Go ahead.
I appreciate it. The way I look at the Aaron Rodgers situation is the involvement of one position in the NFL, and that is really, or multiple position, the front 7 really of the defense has really evolved to where you've got guys like Micah Parsons, who's 6'5" and runs a 4.40. And I just think we're pushing out the quarterback that can't make plays outside of the pocket. I actually think that it's been pushing this way for a long time, and I've been in arguments with your guy about this exact thing. I just think you have to physically be able to move that pocket with your feet, and I don't think Aaron Rodgers can do that anymore. You know who's actually really good at that is Sam Darnold. He made 30 positive plays this year when the pocket broke down and he had to leave the pocket. And I just think that Aaron Rodgers, and I think since that Achilles injury, I think he just wants to get the ball out, which has its attractions, but it just limits what you can do in the playbook. And I'm looking for a quarterback at this point. And, if you look down the whole chain of any high school ratings, college, every single quarterback is dual threat. Yeah. The pro-style quarterback is gone. It is gone. And the thought that you're going to bring Aaron Rodgers in, he used to be able to do it, right? 10 years ago, that was when he was really a phenomenal top
probably 4 years ago. I would say he could still do it, right?
But when you say
thanks for the call, Chad.
And
it's a good question.
It is a good. But with Aaron Rodgers, I think Chad, he said some good things, but the one thing I think was sort of he missed the point in regards to Brian Callahan's offense. Brian Callahan's offense is a quick release offense. He wants you to get the ball out of your hand because it's rhythm. It's like, okay, I'll say boom, 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 boom. And Aaron Rodgers thrives at that. As they started, you're right about Aaron Rodgers, the movement part in the Achilles. You saw a lot of it at the beginning of the season, but toward the end of the season, he started moving a lot better than what he did at the beginning of the season. I think he started to get comfortable and stop worrying about the Achilles, and he started to move a little bit better, or a lot better than what he did in the first half of the season. Now, he's not going to move like he did 3, 4, 5 years ago, but I think he's going to be able to move good enough. If they get savvy, he's going to just savvy enough that if indeed it breaks down, you can move out of the way and still hit your target.
I'm going into it with the premise that you're not going to get the perfect quarterback in the situation they're in. They're not available. So you have to try to say, what's the best possible of the candidates.
I have an answer for you, by the way. You
Okay.
wanted to know the last time a team traded up to draft a non-quarterback number one? By my very quick research, that happened in 1997 when
1997.
the Jets, it says New York Jets to St. Louis Rams, player picked at number one, Orlando Pace.
Pace went to the Rams, though, right?
Yeah, he's number one pick.
The Jets traded the number one pick to
the
Rams,
and
who
they
took
got
Orlando
Pace.
Pace.
And the Rams, I think, were picking pretty high.
They were picking sixth.
So they went from 6 to 1 to take Pace.
Yes.
Interesting. They won a
Pace
Super Bowl.
turned out, he turned out to be a
Yeah.
Hall of Famer,
Yeah.
so it
Heck of
was
a
worth
player.
it.
So the last time it happened.
So not ancient history.
No, 2023.
That
been a while,
is
yeah.
ancient history to some
It's
people.
to some people, yeah. To me, you're like, hey, I remember 97. I remember that. Yeah.
In 2023, Bears and Panthers. Bears traded up, right? Took, was it the Panthers traded up? Took Bryce Young.
Right.
2016, Titans and Rams. Rams traded up, took Jared Goff. 2001, Falcons traded up with the Chargers, took Michael Vick. 1997, Rams traded up, took Orlando Pace.
Okay.
In 1995, here's a player I have no idea who this is. The Panthers and the Bengals made a trade.
The defensive tackle.
Kajana Carter,
yeah, running back Penn State.
Blew out his knee right at the start of his career.
Because the year before, the big defensive
he was
tackle,
first overall?
Yeah.
In 1995.
Oh,
the year before, the big defensive tackle went number one, or the year after.
Dan Wilkinson?
Yeah, Big Daddy Wilkinson.
Big Daddy. That was one of your. It's a train wreck kind of. That was the Washington franchise back then.
Yes. So the last time
that didn't work very well. Big Daddy Wilkinson did not do well for the Skins.
The last time a team traded up to number one and took a non-quarterback was 1997.
Okay.
When the Rams traded up with the Jets and took Orlando Pace. The Jets received the number 6 pick, which they subsequently traded, but they received the 6th pick in the draft in exchange, among other picks, for the number 1 pick in Orlando Pace.
This is the philosophy that I'm going to continue to put out there in my idea that it's still better to trade the first pick, even if you're not getting a boatload of picks. Maybe maybe not as much of a boatload as you would in another given year where there's an obvious first pick, which it doesn't appear that there is this year. But if you just go year by year and look at the first overall picks, you're going to see a pretty wide range. And you just ask yourself, were you better off taking that guy, or are you better off getting extra picks for that pick because of the value that you can get in that pick? Because it's a wide array. I mean, you have Peyton Manning's in there, first overall pick, but so is Big Daddy Wilkinson. So is Kajana Carter. That was a sad situation.
Kajana's was just injury.
It was injury.
Yeah.
But
that
could happen.
Didn't he?
That could happen.
To come back and just wasn't the same player.
This is, by the way, and I was alive in 1995. I'm not that young, but I have no recollection of Kajana Carter.
That was the Steve McNair draft
At all.
Steve McNair was picked, I think, 3rd overall in that draft. So it was Carter, and then Kerry Collins, I think, was 2nd, and then McNair. Or maybe Boselli.
Steve. Yeah, Boselli. And
Tony
then
Boselli
Steve.
was right before Steve McNair.
And then Steve.
The top 5 in the 1995 draft for you draft buffs out there: Kajana Carter, Tony Boselli, Steve McNair, Michael Westbrook, and Kerry Collins.
Yeah. Okay. So
That
yeah,
was the top
Boselli.
5.
I remember. I think it was Floyd Reese tells the story. He was on the phone with other teams and with the Jaguars, saying he's trying to gauge, should I try to trade up one spot because I really want McNair, and he was trying to figure out if the Jaguars were going to take him, and he got another phone call or something. He got the tip that they were taking Boselli. He's like, gotta go. No deal. Hang on. Make your pick. Enjoy your pick.
Well, they got a Hall of Fame out of it.
And Boselli was really good too.
615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your thoughts on the Titans, Aaron Rodgers, whatever you'd like. Call us, text us, 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingate, 1025-1063. The Game. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. All right. We weren't going to go here, but Randy has texted in on our text line, driven by
Okay.
WilsonCountyHyundai.com. In all caps, fighting for Willie
Oh,
to get his full
wow.
point in the Take It to the Bank segment. I demand that I be heard. Maybe Friday prior to Take It to the Bank, if you can work in 3 minutes. But we're doing it right now. I was
3 minutes, man.
I was listening to the
That sounds
podcast.
detailed.
I was listening to the podcast last night when I heard Mr. Donick struggling to defend himself after insisting the Gatorade was yellow. It's Randy. I'm a professional watercolor artist. I will be representing Mr. Donick pro bono as I step in and provide him a closing argument. The defense will show beyond a reasonable doubt, using principles of color theory, along with detailed examples, it is a fact that it's green Gatorade. Not only do we believe he will be awarded his full point, in addition, I will be seeking an additional half point for pain and suffering for the emotional toll it had on my client.
The case was over.
Randy, I don't know if you are
Yeah.
actually a professional watercolor artist. That's impressive if you are, first of all. But not only does he want Willie to get his full point, he wants an extra point for pain and suffering.
Well,
Denied.
We sent it.
Willie's going to walk in here with a neck brace tomorrow.
We
This is
sent
the
it to
guy I've
the
been
Sus-
looking for.
We sent it to the Supreme Court. It was your fault. You didn't get all the necessary paperwork you need to get in to have a retrial. It was your fault. The courts made their decision.
And also, Will, you didn't file for a retrial, so
So there you go.
it has to come from you
Exactly.
first.
You can't have your mans do it. You got to do it.
I'm gonna have to fire Jackie Giles.
You had Jackie
Randy,
Giles.
you should have spoken up yesterday.
Exactly.
I needed Randy, not Jackie.
Exactly.
Willie's going to walk in here tomorrow with a neck brace, with the padded neck brace.
You know what? The
Because-
principle of watercolors, that is something I should have brought in as evidence.
Is that a class
yesterday.
you took at college with next to
No,
Rocks for
no.
Jocks, principles of
But
watercolor?
if you put yellow and green together, you get something in between that looks exactly like lemon lime Gatorade, which is a shade of green.
I'll just have my son do a painting with his. Have him do a finger painting, and it will basically be the same thing.
Okay. But I would love to hear this argument. It may not help me in the contest, but I think I'll sleep better at night.
Nah. It's over with. You go do that on your own time. Pay your own people. Don't do it on our dime.
Don't drag the show down.
Exactly.
Okay.
Joel is on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Joel, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
My question is, if Titans don't want a quarterback and we have to trade, how far can we trade and how many picks can we get? Can we still be in top 5 and 10 and 15 and 20? To get more picks. Thank you.
Thanks for the call,
Yeah,
Joel.
sure.
he's asking how far down
Yeah,
you would
can
go.
they move?
In 2016, they went from 1 to 15, then traded back up to 8. I think we did the research on that.
To take
Jack
Jack
Conklin.
Yes.
So there's a wide range, and I think the more a team wants to trade up, the costlier it is, right? The more they're going to have to get up to do it or give up to do it. So I think that's the sliding scale in general. If you're only moving up one spot, then it's probably not going to cost you as much to move as it would to move up 8 spots or 10 spots.
According to the New York Post, this is from DraftKings Sportsbook. These are the betting odds for Aaron Rodgers' next team. The Steelers are the favorite at plus 200. The Raiders at plus 300. The Niners at plus 350. The Vikings at plus 400. The Titans at plus 750.
Okay, so let's take a couple in there.
Sure.
And we didn't explore this with Tim, but what would you think of the Steelers?
The odds-on favorite, according to DraftKings.
Yeah, then the other one to me on the list we should discuss is the Niners. But let's start with the Steelers.
In regards to,
Let's say you're
Aaron
advising.
Rodgers.
You're advising Aaron Rodgers, and you're saying, okay, where should we go? What would be
Man.
your case if he brings? Hey, D-Mates, what do you think of the Steelers? What would you tell him?
oh wow. First, do the Steelers? Would the Steelers want to go down that road? Okay, let's just say fine. I would say to Aaron, trying to persuade him to go to Pittsburgh. Listen, they have stability. That's first and foremost. This is a well-ran organization. Those two teams you don't find everywhere in the NFL. Whereas ran really well and they're consistently winning, you don't find that, Aaron. You're at a stage of your career where, listen, you may want to win some more and win big. I'm not just talking about barely making it to the playoffs. And I think if you go to Pittsburgh, I think you got a bona fide number one receiver in Pickens. I think you will be able to stroke Pickens' ego because you're going to be getting the ball because that's what Aaron Rodgers do. He finds his guy and he gets it to him. So you can elevate his play. And then we continue to upgrade our offensive line. We got a running game. That's if they keep Najee Harris. But beside Najee Harris, our other running back is pretty good. We got a good running back, good running game, and we got a defense. What is it about Pittsburgh that doesn't entice you? Because I can't say the word. I can't say that.
Well,
word.
it's an Arthur
a banned
Smith
phrase.
offense.
It's
Right?
an Arthur Smith offense.
So is that a fit? Is that a match?
But I think on the face surface, you would say no, it doesn't. But I think
The offense.
the offense.
Yeah.
But I think it will prolong Aaron Rodgers' ability to stay healthy because of the type of offense. Heavy run, play action pass. We may spread it out on you a little bit, but we're trying to do what's best for you, Aaron Rodgers, in making sure that you are healthy throughout the whole season where you don't have to move around as much. We're going to solidify the offensive line. We are run-centric, but in our offense, you are, because Ryan Tannehill showed you can be explosive in his offense.
Now, what about the 49ers? Because for a while, we were all under the assumption that Brock Purdy was going to get the next big deal, but they had a really rough year. Nothing went right. They've got salary cap issues. So actually, I don't even know. I haven't heard anything about Brock Purdy's future, right? What's his deal? But obviously, Aaron Rodgers went to Cal, so people are going to say, well, he that area he's got a connection to that area.
And I met Marcus Mariota when he had that really good year.
Under Arthur Smith.
Arthur Smith, yes. So, I mean, listen, is it a perfect fit when you talk about schematics?
For the Steelers?
Yeah, for the Steelers, probably not. But I think the Steelers would be more inclined to make it work than, say, Aaron Rodgers had sort of fear. Like Pittsburgh, I think, will go into it and say, yes, we can make it work with Aaron Rodgers because this is our offense. But then Aaron Rodgers may look at it as, I don't know if I really fit in that type of offense.
At the Super Bowl, Niners owner Jed York said, I know we want Brock to be here for a long time, and we'll do everything we can to make that work. Purdy has made less than $1 million a year for his first 3 seasons and is set to get a small raise in 2025 to about $5.2 million under the league's proven performance escalator for making the Pro Bowl last season. But Purdy's play has far exceeded that salary, and he is now eligible to negotiate an extension for the first time. It could be in line for a contract that will pay him in excess of $50 million a year.
So that would be the choice: is do you walk away from Purdy to get Rodgers? That doesn't really seem good.
But
to
if
me. And
anybody's
if I'm
gonna
Rodgers,
do it,
I'm looking at
McVay
their
would do
roster
it.
going,
I mean, Kyle
McCaffrey's
Shanahan
older.
would do it. If anybody would do it, Kyle Shanahan would do it.
Okay.
Because he believes because he's shown I can run this system with a quarterback. It doesn't need to be you, Brock Purdy. I did it with Garoppolo. I did it a little bit with Trey Lance before he got injured. And I did it with you. So just like Kyle Shanahan back in the day with running backs, I don't care which running back it is. I mean, not Kyle Shanahan, the other Shanahan.
Mike Shanahan.
Mike Shanahan.
Yeah, it was like, I don't care which running back it is. I can get 1,000 yards with any one of y'all.
Scary.
Yeah, so, yeah, you may have earned you some money, but if we don't want to pay you $6 million, we're not, because we're going to go to the next quarterback.
So that's an intriguing one, is what are the 49ers looking at, and what's the right value for Brock Purdy? He's a pretty unique guy. Last pick in the draft, Mr. Relevant, as they call him. Doesn't have the cannon of an arm, knows the offense. It would seem like you want to avoid paying him $50 million.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the right number for him to where they can still field the type of roster they can win with? They kind of went all in this year and got burned.
Mm-hmm.
They got some guys aging, injured. That's a tricky one. So I don't know if that's a fit with Rodgers. But the Steelers one, because they're coming off a year like, we just didn't get – we got good quarterback play, decent, but not great. Is Rodgers an upgrade for a team that's trying to make it happen in a division with Lamar Jackson and with Joe Burrow. Like, that's a tough division to try to make it work in.
615-737-1025. If you have any stray thoughts on Aaron Rodgers and the quarterback situation, you can get them in now. The idea of him on the Raiders, who are plus 300. Just the Raiders and everything that organization is, Las Vegas, Tom Brady being there as well.
Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers in the same building. Well, they ain't gonna be in the same building because Tom, at least not during the season. Or can he go in the building?
That has
I guess
high,
he can go
that
in the
has
building
high
during the
entertainment
season.
value written
Oh, yeah.
all over it. I'm not sure.
That's what you're looking for.
Yes, I'm not sure how well it would work, but it would certainly be entertaining. 615-737-1025. We're going to switch gears here. Vanderbilt, the Commodores have a gigantic matchup. They take on the number 1 ranked Auburn Tigers. So despite the fact that Auburn lost its most recent game at home against Florida, they maintain their number 1 ranking. So number 1 will be here tonight. Does Vanderbilt need to get a $500,000 check written to Auburn University prepared in case they win? We'll discuss all of that with Tim Thompson, Vanderbilt men's basketball color analyst. We'll do that next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Willie.
All right, let's talk League Company. The Predators on a little hiatus here until a week from Saturday. Four Nations Face-Off gets underway tomorrow night. That'll be a fun tournament to watch. In the meantime, remember always that League Company is a big sponsor of our Predators coverage here on 102.5 The Game. And also, more importantly, League Company has you covered in your household when it comes to heating, cooling, plumbing, electric. Let's talk about cooling for a moment. I know it's a little frigid right now. We got some rain. Hopefully your heater's working fine. But look ahead to the summer months. If it's been a while since you've had your air conditioning unit checked, check in with League Company now. Have them check it. You'll be glad you did in the middle of July when it's 98, 99. We know we're going to have a heat wave somewhere in there in this town. 615-567-1000 or LeeCompany.com. It makes sense. 615-567-1000 or LeeCompany.com. League Company has been in business since 1944 in our listening area. Check them out. League Company, proud sponsor, Nashville Predators.
D-Mace, Vin Ginendonic, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Vanderbilt is in action tonight at Memorial Gym against the number one team in the land, the Auburn Tigers. 6 o'clock tip-off. Pregame starts at 5:30 right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. And joining us on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, to preview this matchup, Tim Thompson, Vanderbilt men's basketball analyst. Tim, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Auburn coming off a loss over the weekend at home to Florida, 90-81. It was Auburn's second loss of the season, first in conference play. Now, I understand that the two teams that have beaten Auburn are in a different weight class than Vanderbilt, that being Florida and Duke. But as you analyze Auburn, Tim, and think about ways that Vanderbilt could try to upset them, are there elements of the games you saw against Florida and Duke that maybe are replicable for Vanderbilt as they look to take advantage here?
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at a team like Auburn and, they get beat at home against Florida and they still retain their number one ranking. So their body of work is, unbelievable. I think in this new net ranking era, that kind of thing, they're a team that is really veteran laden. They got two guys on the team that I think are close to being older than Luka Doncic at 25 years old. So, and then, you've got Janiah Broome, who probably could be the SEC player of the year. He's a guy that, can score inside. He's a pretty good defensive player. He can shoot the three. Vanderbilt's got their hands full tonight, just because I just think that, the veteran leadership that Auburn has and the fact that they get beat at home, they're going to be coming in here loaded for bear. And, if Vanderbilt's going to win this basketball game, they're going to have to shoot the basketball from the perimeter. Tyler Nichols is going to have to step up again and knock down shots. You're going to have to get some help inside. Jalen Carey had a great game against Texas, 18 points, 14 rebounds last Saturday. You're going to have to get, some points and rebounds on the inside. And then you're going to have another guy step up. Edwards is a guy that is going to get you, 17, 18 points a game. He might have to step up and get close to 25 tonight in order for Vanderbilt to win this basketball game.
I was reading a story on CBS Sports about how Vanderbilt has turned things around in Mark Byington's first year, of course, which firsthand. And I love this quote from Byington in the story. The author writes, "Nowhere is Byington's loathing of labels more evident than with the Commodores roster, which includes 18 players listed as point guards." Byington said, "It's a little bit of sarcasm, but at the same time, when you're a basketball player, you're a basketball player. We play as modern basketball as anybody, and it's not just to be modern. I think it's the right way to play, and I think it fits." Can you expand on that and what that modern basketball looks like and how it's helped Vanderbilt get to this point? Did we lose Tim?
I think we lost him.
We lose him. I think we lost him. Man.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
there
there
we
you
go.
go. Hi, Tim.
Tim's back.
Hear me?
Yeah, we got you back.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we got you, Tim.
I'm sorry. I don't know what happened here. Hold on just a second. There we go. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think it was an interesting comment. I think, and Willie, you've been around enough. Everybody wants to be a point guard. And I think his comment more than anything is that he wants playmakers. And it doesn't make any difference what position you play, whether you're a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what position you play. If you're a playmaker, that's all he's asking. And, you look at what Jalen Carey did the other day. I mean, he's a 5 guy, a 4 guy, but he's a playmaker. And that's what Coach Byington wants. The way that he spreads his offense out and creates great spacing, I think is the way kids want to play. And, he turned this roster over completely in 6 weeks when he first took the job. I mean, to be honest with you, over the last 5 years, Vanderbilt was probably playing with a lot of mid-major players, because if you look at the players that have left Vanderbilt and where they're playing or not playing now, I mean, it's really obvious the dramatic difference in talent level from last year to this year. And, we've got 5 wins in the league. I think that, being 12-1 pre-conference, if we get to 8 wins in the SEC, I think you get an NCAA bid.
We'll talk with Tim Thompson, Vanderbilt's men's basketball analyst. Now, Tim, looking at this game, obviously Auburn's a tall team. They're long and they can play small ball. But when you look at Vanderbilt, especially at the guard position, how critical is it going to be for guys like Jason Edwards and AJ Hoggard? Edwards has been averaging close to 20 points over the last 5 games, and shooting close to, I think, 40% from 3-point range, and he only has 7 turnovers in that span. But how critical is it going to be for that guard play? Because Hoggard started off slow the last game, but then he picked it up and helped with the win. But how important is it going to be for them?
Well, I think you make a great point, Derek. It's those two guys, with Edwards' offense, Hoggard's leadership. If you look at Hoggard, you're right. He started out 0 for 11 in the first half, and then he made some plays down the stretch where he penetrated, made a 3, made his free throws. He had 6 assists. He's got to step it up and be better than 4 for 15 tonight. He's got to shoot in that 50% range, in my opinion. He's got to create off the dribble. The one thing about AJ, he's a big, strong kid. He can get downhill. When he gets you on his hip, now all of a sudden he becomes a different player because he's got a nice little floater and he can finish at the rim. But I think for sure Hoggard and Edwards have to step up. I think you've got to get some play from MJ Collins as well. He did a great job on Trey Johnson from Texas defensively. If you can get some offense out of MJ Collins, and then I think, you've got Tyler Tanner, who's not shot the ball great, but, if he comes in and can give you a little bit of defense and a little bit of offense, now all of a sudden those 4 guards, they become difference makers to make Vanderbilt a different team when you get some scoring out of them.
Now, Willie and I were talking about this, I think it may have been last week, about how well Vanderbilt plays defense in the lanes with their hands. I saw it on display, and it seems like this team, for whatever reason, even though they're not big, they play great defense when you're talking about passing lanes and everything else like that. What do you contribute that to?
Well, I think it's part of Byington's system. Mm-hmm. When you start talking about gap defense, help defense, I think they're really good about gap defense, where if a guy gets beat off the dribble from the perimeter, you've got a teammate helping you. And a guy like Grant Huffman, Hoggard, Edwards, they have quick hands. A guy brings the basketball down below his shoulders going into the lane, it's going to get stripped. That's just the way they play basketball. And I think it's a tribute to Coach Byington. We're not a big team. You look at McLaughlin and you look at Carey, and there are 5 guys, and they're really 5 guys playing out of position. They're really 4 men is what they are. And I think we've done a great job, in what we've done so far with, a couple of our big guys playing out of position. But the one thing that offers is a little bit of quickness compared to a guy maybe that's 6'10", 6'11" that they're guarding. Now all of a sudden you got quicker hands and that kind of thing. And you create steals off that 5 position as well.
Tim Thompson is with us. It'll be Tim, along with our buddy Kevin Ingram, on the call tonight. 6:00 is the start. Vanderbilt against number 1 Auburn. Tim, one thing I've really been impressed with is now that you can kind of get over to the side of the court when you're coaching at Memorial, I see Byington a lot, almost directing traffic. They've got such an intricate offense. It seems like he can find the matchups he's looking for pretty well with this team. And on a different night, it could be a different guy that has the best matchup. It was Hoggard, as Derek was saying, late in the game that seemed to be the guy that had a good matchup. He made a couple big buckets. Other times it's been Edwards. Other times it's Carey. But I feel like they can recognize it. I'm just worried about tonight. Auburn doesn't have too many bad matchups out there. They've got so many different weapons. But I do think he does a great job of finding the best way to go about it on offense.
And Willie, that you're spot on that. I mean, you really, if you look at, a guy like Tyler Nickel, he had 17 points against Texas, and he got those 17 points off of exactly what you're talking about. Byington recognizing, Nickel's 6'7", and all of a sudden he's got a 6'3", 6'4" guy playing him, and now he runs him off screens. He gets a wide open three, that kind of thing. I think that's the one thing Coach Byington does a great job of. And I really hadn't even thought about the sideline opportunities for coaches now. I mean, back when you and I played, Willie, they couldn't get out of the coach's box, so they basically had to stay in the end zone basically to coach. Now, they've gotten the ability to almost go all the way to half court, and the officials really aren't going to call anything. So now you have some of that stuff where a coach coaching on the sideline, recognizing some of those matchups. But again, to your point, you look at Auburn, and they're a tough matchup. You've got Baker Mazzara, who's a kid that can guard probably 1 through 4. Broome can guard 4 and 5. A guy like Dylan Cardwell can come in and he can guard 4 and 5. And then I think Denver Jones is one of the guys that is kind of an unsung hero. He's really good defensively. So, Auburn's a tough match. I mean, we're talking about Vanderbilt. They're a tough match for anyone. And, based on what the SEC has right now, and depending on how a friend of mine, we were talking this morning, if Alabama, Auburn, and Florida are all in different brackets, you might be able to see those 3 teams in the Final Four. That's how good this league is, and that's how good those 3 teams are.
I was going to follow up with that, Tim, because I think this Vanderbilt team is really fun to watch. They play with great energy, but they happen to be in a league, and you've watched this league for a long, long time. There have been some great years in the SEC, but do you think this is the deepest that the league has ever been? I saw Lunardi, he had 3 1 seeds and 2 2 seeds from the league just the other day.
Yeah, well, I think, all the years that I've been watching it, I think this is the deepest. I mean, if you look at, the records, if you go to the SEC and look at the standings, and, you see a team like South Carolina hadn't won a game, but they're a solid team. I mean, it's amazing the depth. And, LSU and Ole Miss played the other day, and LSU gave that game away. They had Ole Miss on the ropes. And, I think potentially this league could get 13 teams in the tournament, which I'm not sure if that's ever been done before. One conference has 13 teams in the dance. You look at Vanderbilt's schedule right now. You got Auburn at home, and then Saturday you go to Tennessee, and then next Wednesday you go to Kentucky, and then you come home, and I think we play Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, that's right.
I mean, it's brutal. There's just no, what I would say, lightweights that you're going to be able to roll in somewhere and think, oh, I automatically, since I'm playing at home, I'm automatically going to win. That's out the window. You better come to play every game, or you're going to be in a tough situation down the stretch.
By the way, just to interject, Willie, the record for most bids by one conference in a single NCAA tournament is the Big East in 2011. 11
right.
teams.
And did the Big East have 16 teams that year in the league? I guess they did, but I'm not sure.
11 of 16.
Course, the SEC has 16. For years, they only had 10,
yes,
and then
the
12.
Big East had 16.
Tim and I can remember playing in a SEC that had 10 teams. We're getting older. We're getting removed from that now, right, Tim? But
that's right.
But I just would love to get your perspective on the energy that you see from Mark Byington. They've opened up the new offices and facilities right next door to Memorial, which is still, I think, I'm biased, but as good as any top 10 venue if you have it in the right atmosphere. I'm hoping that that's there tonight, but he's got that energy that I think is infectious. The team plays that way. So I'm just curious your thoughts of his fit with Vanderbilt, with where they are in the big picture, trying to rebound from, as you kind of pointed out, it's been a down period for the last 6-8 years.
Yeah, Willie, I worked for Nike for 25 years, and I've been in college sports marketing, and I've been to so many venues, practice facilities over those 25 years. And I walked in the Huber Center a little over a week ago, and I looked around and I was like, I've never been in one this nice. And people ask me, what do you mean? Vanderbilt's got that nice? I'm telling you, it is off the charts, beyond anything what you would expect. I don't know if you've been in there.
I haven't yet.
But it's beautiful. And, you have a coach like Coach Byington who's come in, who, to your point, has a lot of energy. And I've always said, if you're going to be a college coach, you have to have a college mentality. And when you get out of bed in the morning and both feet hit the floor, you're thinking about high school recruiting, you're thinking about portal, you're thinking about NIL. And that's what we have now, is a guy and his staff that's what they think about. And, I know for a fact that they probably have a list of portal kids that at the end of the season, they'll be doing their due diligence on, looking at kids from other conferences and, other divisions and that kind of thing. I just think now that they're winning, you also see the energy at Memorial Gym. I mean, I thought the Texas crowd was great. Tennessee, Kentucky, they both bring their share of fans, but I still thought those crowds were very good. The way we played, we took their fans out of the game. But that Texas game, it was 99% Vanderbilt fans. And I thought the energy and the electricity was kind of back to the old Memorial magic a little bit. But I love Coach Byington and the energy that he has.
Tim Thompson, Vanderbilt men's basketball analyst, joining us on D-Mace, Vin Ginandonic. Tim, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the game tonight.
All right. Thanks so much. Take care.
You can tune in to 102.5, 106.3 The Game tonight. Vanderbilt hosts Auburn at Memorial Gym, a 6 o'clock tip-off, pregame show at 5:30.
Hey, I wonder if Tim, because I believe there will be a storming of the court. I do. But I wonder if,
wait 60 seconds.
I wonder if Tim, the guy that's going to count down the clock, like turn it on right there.
That'd be a good job for Tim.
Exactly.
Excuse me for a minute, Kevin. Let me get on I have my big stopwatch here.
Derek, by the way, has his
something
check,
you'd see
has
like
his
at a swim
checkbook
meet,
out.
get the big clock and count it down. I wonder if they have that.
Derek has his checkbook out on the
Yes.
desk. Are you about to write a $500,000 check?
Oh, hell no. A $5 check to the fund. Yes.
That's
what Willie would do.
maybe.
You know
That's
what is
what Willie
great
to
about
do.
this? Don't look my way. I'll be looking the other way. You looking at me? No, you must be looking over here. But this is going to be special tonight, and I really hope I'm going to go to the game. I hope that the atmosphere is what it should be when number one comes to town. I've watched it through the years a few times. Before I got to Vanderbilt, this was one of the things that kind of enticed me about Memorial Gym when I came on a visit. A year or two before, they had beaten, you'll like this, Adam, North Carolina.
Always
they were
good,
number one.
Always a good time.
A J.R. Reed, North Carolina team. A Jeff Lebo, North Carolina team. Really good team. Beat them. My senior year, when I didn't play, I was keeping stats. I focused only on baseball, but it was my guys, the guys that I played with. They beat a Rick Pitino Kentucky team that was number one. Not too long ago. It's still, we're getting older. It doesn't seem that long ago for young people. It's like, oh, I don't remember those teams. I think it was 2008. It was the defending national champion Florida team that had the same guys back and ended up winning it again. They were number one with Noah and
Al Horford.
Al Horford and
Corey
Green, Sidney
Brewer.
Green's son. Yeah. They had a great team. It was a great team. Vanderbilt beat them. They stormed the court. Shane Foster was on that team. It's a special thing. And I remember what Kevin Stallings said. And I was there one night where they beat a Bruce Pearl Tennessee team that was number one. I think it was right around that same time. So number ones have fallen at Memorial Gym a few times, but it's such a great opportunity. You could go your whole college career as a player and never play number one. So when you have number one coming into your building, it's a great opportunity. That was the motivational speech by Kevin Stallings. I remember he told his team, you may not ever get this chance. What are you going to do with the opportunity to play number one? So there's nothing to lose, right? There's no reason to be nervous or anything. Just go in and take your shot.
615-737-1025. We'll continue the conversation next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. D Mace Vin Ginadonic 1025, 1063. The game. Willie is playing air keyboard. I feel like
Little Miss Gaga, Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga front and center in the Grammys and at the Super Bowl.
she was doing a press tour with Bradley Cooper when that movie came out where they sing.
A Star is Born.
Yes. And they had a placard for her at the press table and it said L. Gaga. I always thought that was very funny. L. Gaga. Just to make sure.
So if you call for a reservation at the restaurant,
Gaga.
El Gaga.
can
and
you
what number
do?
should I put this in? Gaga. Can I put this now under a name? Yes, Gaga.
Gaga.
First
Oh,
name
man.
L.
No one will ever know.
Oh my goodness! I think
All
people
right.
would think you were playing. Like, oh, okay.
Back to Vanderbilt for a moment. Vanderbilt and Auburn tonight at 6 o'clock. Tip off at 6. Pregame starts at 5:30, right here on 1025, 1063, the game. Fifth top 10 opponent for Vanderbilt this season. They are 2-2 in those matchups. They beat Tennessee. They beat Kentucky at Memorial Gym. I don't know if you guys knew this. Did you know that we have a resident bracketologist in our midst? One Joe Rexroad is now the bracketologist for the Athletic. Have you noticed this?
He is the bracketologist.
Oh, wow.
Yes, he does the NCAA tournament bracket
him.
projections.
Oh,
They
good
have-
job.
They've had other guys contribute too, but that's great. That's awesome for Joe.
So I like where he has Vanderbilt because we're about a month away from Selection Sunday. And basically every projection I see of Vanderbilt, they're in the same place. They're a 10 seed. I see them as a 10 seed in every projection. Get a load of this matchup. I wonder how a certain someone behind the glass would feel about this. A 7-10 matchup in Milwaukee in the West region. Number 7 Memphis, number 10 Vanderbilt.
Go Tigers, go.
Very interesting.
I always like when I don't really like it when teams from the same conference end up playing each other in the tournament. Like it's inevitable at times, but like I always like when there are like regional matchups, quote unquote, against teams from the same state that are in different conferences. So Memphis and Vanderbilt would meet that criteria for me. But I feel like Vanderbilt is in the tournament for a lot of people who are paid to do this.
Not if they lose out.
No, of course not.
So
But-
that's why I'm reticent to say, hey, they're going to be in. I don't worry about. I definitely don't worry about matchups at this point. I realize it's for show and for
Yes.
discussion.
I'm a sucker for these things.
Right.
I'll admit.
I think the pathway is 3 more wins. I think you would feel really good, even if you didn't win a game in the SEC tournament. If you got 3 more wins in your conference games, because no matter how you slice it, you won't have any bad losses in there, and you will have 3 wins that look pretty good. I think that will do it.
Vanderbilt, by the way, has the 3rd strongest remaining strength of schedule in the country.
Well, that's why I say,
Yes,
when you sit
Alabama
there and they
first.
go, you're in. Like,
Right.
have you looked at who they're playing? Like, they're-
Alabama first, Houston second.
Right. You can't look at any of the games on their schedule and say that's a win, that's a win, that's a win. They will have to earn
Yes.
3 wins or more. Can they do it? Absolutely, they can do it. But stuff happens, and you can play really well and lose. They could play a great game tonight and fall short just because Auburn is so good. I thought they played, and we had Coach Byington on last week, the night after they lost to Florida. He said, we played pretty well. And they did. There was a stretch where the kid came off the bench for Florida that hadn't played all
Yeah,
year long. And
he
hit
was
two,
hitting them, boy.
2 unbelievably long threes. They hit everything. Florida was just too good on that night. That's going to happen probably a couple of times in this last stretch. You hope, though, that you have a couple of nights, and this would be a night where you've got to have some things go your way. You have to hope that maybe Auburn is a little down 3-point percentage-wise from where they are during the season. They're a really good shooting team. And that's one thing about a Bruce Pearl team that I think he does a really good job of. And the first guy that comes to mind, and shoot, I can't remember his name. Some early Bruce Pearl teams. His first name is Chris, I think. The point is, he gives his shooters the green light. You will see some Auburn guys tonight.
Chris Lofton.
Chris Lofton. He would take some shots, and this is every Bruce Pearl team since. They'll take some shots, and you say to yourself, How could a coach let that kid take that shot? That is crazy. But you know what he does? He says, I don't want you thinking to yourself, as I take this shot, if my coach doesn't like this shot, he's going to put me on the bench, right? He's going to bench me for shot selection. I played for a coach that was very much on everybody's mind when they shot it. Is this a good shot? But Bruce Pearl's philosophy is, if you're thinking that, that's going to affect your shot. Whereas if you're thinking confidence, I'm taking this shot, it's going to go in more often than not. And they shoot a very good percentage. Vanderbilt's got to hope that they're a little bit off. And then the other part of it, they're so long, they've got to not get killed on the offensive glass, right? And then you got to have good offensive efficiency on your half, which is not an easy thing because Auburn's a great defensive team.
By the way, the line on this game, Auburn -9.5.
Yeah, this is Vanderbilt will be a bigger underdog tonight than they were against either Tennessee or Kentucky. That's how good Auburn is.
Yeah, Auburn I think a lot of times Auburn dictates what they're able to do, what they do. So if they want to speed it up, they can do that. If they want to slow it down, play with their long team, they can do that also. That's why I think it's going to be critical. Two things tonight is that McLaughlin and Carey they don't get in foul trouble, especially not early. And then, as Tim talked about, and I asked him, the guard play. They gotta get good. Hogarth can't start off 0-11 again. He can't.
No, that's not.
Yeah, they won't be a winning
formula.
Yeah, they will have no chance at winning unless they're just playing superb defense. And Jason Edwards is putting up damn near. He on the pace to put up damn near 40. But Hogarth has to be an integral part at what they do, especially early on, because I think he does give you that ability, that toughness at that guard position
he's
that
strong.
you need. Exactly.
He's older. Like he's 24. As Tim mentioned, Auburn's got a lot of 23, 24. They've even got a couple guys who are 25, which is ridiculous. I don't think
they should be going to
that's another
max contract.
That's for another show. That's for another show. But Hogarth is a big, strong kid who can bully and get his own shot.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed when you go 0 for 10 or 0 for 11, like he was against Texas. Like, I put myself in those shoes. Three things are going to happen. If I'm 0 for 10, I'm looking around going, how am I still in the game at 0 for 10? Usually I'd be on the bench. Number two, mentally, I'm thinking, hey, I'm not hitting today. I'm either going to stop shooting, period, not have confidence to shoot, or if I shoot, I'm probably going to miss again. But he did a great job reeling it back in and making some big plays down the stretch. I'm hoping he comes into tonight's game confident because of the way he recovered from the 0 for 10.
Yeah, and so they're going to have to get some really good play. The crazy part about it is Jason Edwards shoots better at home, but he averages more in away games. Now, obviously, they play more, I think, home games than away games. I think they play 15. It's 15 and 8. I don't know which one. I think it's home 15, 8 away, something like that.
And that's basically all league teams. They're going to play more home games in the preseason, especially.
Exactly, because of the preseason. So they played 15 at home, 8 away. But he's going to have a good shooting night. I'm not saying he needs to shoot, 55, 60%, but it has to be close to that 50%. And it has to be close to 40 from the three-point line, because he's the one guy other than Hogarth that I think can break you down with the dribble and penetrate and get those bigs to collapse, and then he can pitch the ball out.
I think it's been different guys, different games, and that's the versatility that they have. And it is based on, as we talked about with Tim, who has the better matchup on a given night and who's got the hot hand. And there's no doubt Vanderbilt from the three-point line can be a little streaky, right? They will have to be able to knock down big outside shots to have a chance.
What do you think of Tyler Tanner?
Oh, I think he's going to be outstanding. But remember, he's a true freshman. Yeah. So he's probably 19. I don't know exactly how old he is, but he's playing against guys that are 22, 23, 24. 25. He might be matched up with this guy who's 25. Auburn, it's Chad Baker-Mazara. He's from, I forget, maybe Dominican Republic or something. He's 25 years old. 25.
He's Dominican, yes.
Yeah. He should be at his max
a
contract
6-year
again.
edge. What was Mark Byington's comment? Because that's like when you're a teenager, you go down to the big boys on the at the playground or at the rec center, and they start just beating you up a little bit. Like, come on, young man, let's go, young blood, let's go.
That's Willie.
Oh, yeah,
that's Willie.
Now there's
Giving him a
there's
couple
older,
elbows.
and then there's too old
Yeah.
to do anything about it. But the other thing to watch for tonight, I think, the Bruce Pearl teams always been really good at, they will overplay and try to deny you the ball in bounds. You watch when you run an out of bounds play, they'll try to not let you get the ball in bounds. Like sometimes it's like, hey, throw it in, just, and then we'll guard you and we'll stop your play. They will overplay you. So can Vanderbilt come up with some plays where you maybe get a layup off of that, or will they turn it over 2 or 3 times and start the break? These are important things.
Or will they have to use critical timeouts when they should?
Right. That's what it's designed to do. Bruce Pearl, he'll make you burn one that you don't want to take because you can't get the ball in. The other dynamic in the matchup is Vanderbilt is a good defensive team, but they're undersized. So how do they do it? They create turnovers. They strip the ball. They get steals. They can turn it into fast breaks. They need a few of those. The problem is Auburn, as much as they are green light, be loose, they really do a good job of not turning the ball over. That is going to be a huge stat to watch tonight. Can Auburn take care of the ball like they normally do, or do they turn it over a few more times than normal because Vanderbilt is good at creating turnovers? To me, that's a stat to watch.
615-737-1025. Again, Vanderbilt, Auburn tonight, Memorial Gym. Tip off at 6, pregame at 5:30 right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Willie, if Vanderbilt wins, I expect to see you head and shoulders above the students on the court. That's all I'm saying. I know you'll be at the game.
I will be at the game.
If they win, I want to see Willie Donick on the court attempting to tear down the rim.
You will not see me before the 60 seconds.
Yes,
so I
it
will
has to
not be
count
the
down.
person responsible for a fine. If it happens, I hope it happens. I'm envisioning it, but I will not be the person that runs out prematurely.
I'm trying to think of any way they can get the rim or either the backboard, the rim or the backboard in the Cumberland, or better yet, in that little river thing over there across the street by the Parthenon. In there, I'm trying to think of a way. Can somebody bring like a drill? Like get a drill in and undrill the
Something
screws.
tells
and
me
just
that
take
won't
it out.
pass
I'm
through the metal
sure
detectors.
Dr. Candace Story Lee over there, if she's listening, she's going, Derek, please don't
I
put it in
want-
their mind.
I want this.
These are
I want
expensive
this.
things.
Somebody's
want
going to
this
show up
man.
with a full tool
Listen,
set.
I said it
Tool
last
belt.
time, and they won. Okay,
You did say
I
it
said
last time.
last time, and they beat
Did speak it
Alabama.
into existence.
Exactly.
last
So
time.
I'm speaking it into existence again. I'm sorry, Candace Lee. I really am. I ain't sorry enough that I helped pay for it, but I'm sorry. Okay?
615-737-1025. Before we go today, I have to do a little take shaming. I heard something yesterday as I was driving home. I've got to talk about it. We'll do that next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Stoneman and Company coming up next. Speaking of Jared, I do have to do a little take shaming before we go. So as I was driving home from picking up my son from school yesterday, Jared took a segment during his 2 o'clock hour to talk about how much he hated the Super Bowl halftime show.
What a shocker.
He said it was horrible. I believe he also said it was a disgrace that Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, what would be the disgrace?
I think it was because in his mind, Kendrick Lamar is not popular enough to be the headliner of the Super Bowl halftime show.
Man.
And one of the points of his argument was, in order to be qualified to be the headliner of the Super Bowl halftime show, you have to be able to sell out a football stadium. So I sent to Jared Kendrick Lamar's tour itinerary this summer, which kicks off in April at a football stadium, US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis.
Where's the next one after that?
Houston, Texas, and NRG Stadium.
And where's the next one after that?
AT&T Stadium, home of the Dallas Cowboys.
Is that a big stadium?
After that, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. After that,
Is that a
Bank
big
of
stadium?
America
So
Stadium
all
in
these
Charlotte.
are football
After
stadiums.
that, Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. After that, 2 nights at MetLife Stadium. After that, Gillette Stadium. After that, Lumen Field in Seattle. After that, 3 nights at SoFi Stadium. After that, State Farm Stadium where the Cardinals play.
Well, somebody believe he can sell out the arenas.
So
or the stadiums.
Maybe all these stadiums are overconfident.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Jared his tour itinerary, and he mentioned it on the air, and he goes, I bet it will do terribly. He's like, have him actually sell out the stadiums, and then we can talk, basically. But let me...
No, but he's banking that you'll forget about it by
But
then.
I won't.
And forget that he ever said anything.
And this is what I texted him. And he mentioned it. He mentioned this actually on the air as he was having this conversation, but I never got a response. Jared's girlfriend, Lindsay, the mother of his beautiful baby boy, Jackson Reese, works in the music industry. Jared, I want you to ask Lindsay this question. If she were advising an artist who said to her, Lindsay, I want to tour football stadiums this summer. I am confident that I can sell out football stadiums. If she wasn't confident that that artist could sell out football stadiums, do you think she would advise said artist to tour football stadiums?
Nope.
No. So this idea that Kendrick, like, I'm not talking about the performance itself. I'm talking about the idea that Kendrick Lamar isn't popular enough to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show is asinine.
The man won
Asinine.
what, 5 Grammys?
Yeah, something like 5 Grammys.
He is the most popular right now. So I don't, the Swiftie fans or the Beehive, stay in y'all corners, okay? Stay in y'all corners. Don't come over here. Right now, as we sit, Kendrick Lamar is the most popular and recognizable artist in the U.S. right now, as we sit. One of those reasons, he just did the Super Bowl. So everybody, even if you didn't know about him before, you know about him now.
Also, he was in the Super Bowl when Snoop, Dr. Dre, and Eminem
What was that,
were in
3
it.
years ago,
Yeah.
4 years ago?
Yeah, didn't he do I'm trying to remember this. I feel like it was the Georgia-Alabama national title game where Tua came off the bench for Jalen Hurts. Didn't Kendrick Lamar perform at that? He did one of those games too.
But the notion that he's not popular. Listen, Jerry, he may not be popular to you, or you may not like his music, and you have every right to. There's some
But that's
music I don't
everybody
like.
with a lot of
Exactly.
artists.
But that doesn't mean he's not popular. Just because you don't think it, you can name an artist to me, Jared, that I may not know and may not think is popular. To me, they're not popular, but that doesn't mean they're not popular to the masses.
Let's mention a couple of other places that Kendrick Lamar is performing this summer. Allegiant Stadium, home of the Las Vegas Raiders. Soldier Field, home of the Chicago Bears. Ford Field, home of the Detroit Lions. He's playing the Rogers Center in Toronto, where the Blue Jays play. That's a gigantic ballpark.
Now, if he's looking for people,
And he's also going to Europe. He's touring stadiums in Europe, soccer stadiums in Europe.
Listen, you can't. I think when he thinks about it, he thinks about Beyonce, Taylor Swift, people like that. People like that is in their own space. Like they will sell out anything because that's their fan base. They can go to the most remote place and for somehow, some way, they will find a way to sell it out because that's just them. So if you're trying to compare it to those two, then okay, he doesn't garner what they garner. But in his space right now, when you're talking about popularity, you don't just do the Super Bowl because you're because a few people know about you. You're doing the Super Bowl because of what you've done that year is recognized by a lot of people. And they feel that they're going to get their money's worth when they put you on stage. And they got it. So I don't see how, he may not like the music or he may not have liked the performance. Because if you looked into it, it was more than just music. If you watched the visuals and understood what was going on, and it took me, some hours to figure it out, but you would appreciate what he was saying and what was going on.
Yeah, and this is independent of the performance itself.
Exactly.
I am not talking about his performance. It's the fact that he was even there to begin with.
Yeah.
Right.
And I just, all I'm saying, Jared, is the next time you have this conversation with Lindsay, who works in the music industry, you ask her if she would advise an artist who she doesn't think can sell out football stadiums to tour football stadiums. The answer is no, because they would hemorrhage money. So Kendrick Lamar, you may not have liked the performance. I remember I got into this with him a few years ago because he made a similar argument about The Weeknd.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, and I
he
was
like, dead wrong on The Weeknd
if you want to complain about the performance itself, go right ahead. But The Weeknd was creating number one hit after number one hit after number one hit. He was everywhere. So if you want to complain about the performance, that's fine. But to say that he didn't deserve to be there, I'm sorry that Justin Timberlake can't do the halftime show every single year. I'm sorry.
Do you think that after this passionate argument that you guys laid out a lot of facts and supported it? Mm-hmm. Do you think Jared would
no.
You know what? They made a good argument. I feel like you guys feel like I did after I'd made my case for why UC Saros doesn't stink, as he was saying, because his save percentage was 900. And of course, he's still carrying that flag, right?
I mean, he's going to carry it until he can't carry it no more.
Again, understanding who you're going to listen to, the people that lay out facts, numbers to support an argument, or just somebody who shoots from the hip with really nothing other than hot air.
But what was his basis on why he didn't think Kendrick Lamar deserved to do a halftime show?
If I recall correctly,
why he's not that popular?
Because he was in the target age. He's in the target age demographic for the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl halftime show, and it didn't appeal to him, I think is why.
Well, again, he can. Okay, that's him, but he can't make that a blanket statement. It's him.
Oh man, that's all I'm saying, Jared. Just in the quiet moment when little Jackson Reese is taking a nap, just ask Lindsay that question. If you were advising a music artist who wants to tour football stadiums, and you didn't think that artist could sell out football stadiums, would she advise them to do that? I guarantee you the answer is no. I just wanted to get that off my chest. Jared is coming up next right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Willie, do you want to give the fine folks an anchor down before we leave?
I'll be there. What's your message to Vanderbilt fans, Derek, for a big game?
Hey, big game like this, be your butts in your seats, all right? Be there now. I know it's raining. Get you a towel, get your ponchos, get something. Be at those doors, because when they open, boy, that's when it's going to start. Bring the noise. Bring some anchors with you, too. Oh, yeah, bring a drill, too, because we're going to take that that rim off that backboard, okay? I'm sorry, Candace Lee. I am totally sorry. I'm sorry.
Well said, Derek. Memorial Magic. That's what we're looking for.
There we go.
That'll do it for us. Jared's coming up next.
Be love on your people. Have a safe, wonderful Tuesday. Stay dry. Peace.